everyone, welcome back to my channel So Little Time, and my name is Karen. So I hope you're all doing really well, and thank you very much for joining me today. Today I am here to share with you my reveal for hashtag Sewupcycle23, which is the sustainable sewing challenge that myself and Becky from the Notes from the Sewing Room have been running throughout the month of October. And already this morning there have been some wonderful entries into the challenge. Really creative, I have to say, and I've been really enjoying looking at them. So I'm going to have a good look at all of the entries at the end of the day, and we'll be entering everybody into a spreadsheet for the prize draw, which myself and Becky will hopefully be drawing either later on this week or perhaps next week, as I know Becky is away with work at the moment. So yeah, we'll be drawing names at random very soon. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having a look through everybody's entries. That, like I say, there have been some really nice creative entries, and I encourage you to go and have a look at the hashtag Sewupcycle23 so you can check out what everybody has been making and take some inspiration from it. It's just really wonderful to see everybody who has taken part. So thank you so much to everybody who has entered. We truly appreciate your support with our challenge. So for my upcycles then, I managed to complete 3, which I'm really pleased about. I initially only set out to make 2, which were garments that I was supposed to have upcycled last year for the challenge, but I didn't end up finishing one, which I think I cut out and I had a bit of a fail with it. And this one that I'm wearing, I just didn't get a chance to do it. So I was a little bit scared about what I was going to do to it. But with your help, I have successfully made the change to this dress that I wanted to do. So yeah, I didn't manage to get the 4th one done that I wanted to do because I did add a couple onto my list, but I've managed to get 3 completed, which I'm really pleased about, and the 4th one will get done in the future. So I'll share with you then this dress that I am wearing, and I got this initially from a charity shop a few years back, and it's, I think, originally from H&M. And I'll insert a photo of what it originally looked like. So as you can see, it's quite a straight A-line style dress, which didn't really have any sort of shaping to it. And for me, I feel like it needed a little bit more shaping to make it more wearable for me, as I am quite hippie. So I do like to accentuate my waist area just so it sort of breaks up my shape a little bit. And I'm really pleased with what I have done to this dress to enable me to wear it, because it was definitely not going to be worn in the style that it was. It's very similar to the Wilder gown in the sense that it's got this high-necked ruffle collar detail, and it does have a keyhole opening here, which I have closed up slightly. It was slightly longer, but it just showed off a little bit too much cleavage, and unless you wore a top underneath it. So I decided just to close that up a little bit so that it was more wearable for me. I don't usually wear a lot of black. Black is not my colour. But with the polka dots, I feel it's okay. It's definitely a dress that I'm going to be wearing during the autumn and winter. So for that reason, I didn't change the shape of the sleeves at all. So I'm just going to pan you down a little bit so you can see that they've got an elasticated cuff, and usually you would pull them down, but I've decided to pull them up a little bit just to show off a little bit more skin, because this is quite a lot of black fabric on me. So I felt like I just needed to shorten the sleeves a little bit, and I didn't want to make them short sleeves because obviously, like I say, I'm not going to be really wearing this during the summer months, although I think you could, but I feel the colour is just a little bit dark for the summer. So I ended up shearing the waist. So thank you very much to everybody who suggested that as an option, and to those of you who said it was okay to shear in the round, because I've never done any shearing before, so this was my first time, and I was a little bit scared about doing it, but I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I had 1 reel of shearing elastic, and I still have some of that left, so I did manage to have quite a few goes on it because it didn't go to plan the first time around, but I'll just pan you down so you can see how the waist is looking. So as you can see, it's brought it in really nicely. It is maybe slightly higher than I first wanted it to be. I wanted it to be a little bit more on my natural waist, but I just sort of winged where I was going to do it, and it has worked out just slightly high. But it has sheared fairly well. Now, there wasn't a lot of fabric to shear in, so I did find when I first set up my machine to shear, I had done it too tight and it did pop all of the stitches. So I was at my sewing social whilst I was doing this, and it took me the whole 3 hours just to get 4 rows of shearing done, to the point that it wasn't going to pop every time I tried to put the dress on over my head. So the 4 rows have cinched it in just enough for me, which I'm really pleased about. And I've got the pockets still left in at the moment, but I am going to be taking those out because I feel like it adds a little bit of bulk onto my hips. And I think if I close that seam up it would just sit a little bit more streamlined, and I don't really use pockets all that much, although it is quite a nice feature to have. You know, it's not essential for me. And then if I stand back a little bit more, you will see that I've shortened the dress to knee length, which is much more my style. I do prefer a knee length style dress. It just sort of suits my shape of my body. So I'm pleased with how that's looking. So as you can see, it's brought it in really nicely around the waist. Really pleased with that, and I do feel like now I will wear this dress. So with regards to the shirring then, I will just talk you through my experience, because obviously it was my first time, and I have to say it was actually quite a thoroughly enjoyable experience. Being my first time, I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. So I did check out a tutorial which was by Sewupcycling, and I will link the video down below for you because it was really helpful, and yeah, it just basically tells you how to do it from start to finish, and it's really quite a simple procedure. So I wound the shirring elastic onto my bobbin without too much tension, and I initially set my machine stitch length to number 4, but that actually ended up being too tight, and when I first did all the rows of shirring, tried to put the dress on over my head, and I popped every single row. So that was quite frustrating, and I had to unpick it all and get all the threads out and the elastic out, and then had to rewind the bobbin again and to do some more. So then I set my machine length to, I think it was 4.5, which was better, but yeah, still a little bit too tight. So for me, on my machine, I have a Janome machine, I had to set it to 5, which is the longest stitch length that my machine goes up to. And I didn't change any of the other dials, I left them as is, and yeah, that worked fine. Now, I think the reason that it was popping is actually because I didn't have that much fabric to shear in at the waist anyway. So I think when you do like a pattern which calls for shearing, i.e. the Mabel top by Tilly and the Buttons, or a sheared dress which has a full sheared bodice, I think the width of the fabric would obviously be much wider to shrink in, and then you'd have a lot more elasticity with the amount of elastic that would be sheared into that panel of fabric. Whereas obviously with this was already at a set width, and so I only had so much fabric that I could shear in the round, which worked really well, but obviously I had to definitely use the longest stitch length on my machine to enable it to have as much elasticity as possible. But when I put it on over my head, I do need to be really careful because I feel like it is at its strained limit as such. But I'm really pleased that I can get it on and off okay if I do it delicately. Hopefully it will last. If it doesn't, then I'll have to rethink about what I'm going to do and perhaps put an elastic channel in instead that way. But yeah, it's worked for now. And I did initially have 5 rows of shirring, but the 5th one kept popping, so I've left it as 4. And yeah, it did take me the whole 3 hours at my sewing social just to get these rows adequately done. But my experience of actually shirring itself was really enjoyable, and I really enjoyed the process. And I'm not going to be scared of using that method in the future for other makes. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this finished upcycle, and I'm glad that I've done it, as obviously I didn't get around to doing it last year, and I will definitely wear this dress. And I've popped it on with my earrings, which is very suitable for November, obviously coming up to Remembrance Day, and I feel that that contrasts quite nicely with this dress. And because I've got it as a high neck, I have tied my hair up. Had my hair, I think it was down yesterday when I first tried this on, and it was just too much with the hair down and the high neck. So yeah, so that's my first upcycle then. So I will now go and get changed into my second upcycle. Right, so my next upcycle has to be my most favourite out of the 3 that I've done, and this is one that I failed with last year. So to give you 100% transparency, I have had to add some new fabric to this to enable me to finish making it into a wearable garment. So I know I'm not going to be entering myself into the challenge anyway, but I have had to add new fabric. So it's not technically a fully 100% upcycle from another garment, but the quilted part of this jacket is from a previous jacket that I bought from the charity shop in my village, and I'm going to insert on the screen screenshots of what it looked like previously, because I didn't take any photos of it in its like form of one before I cut it up. So I've just taken screenshots of when I was sharing it on my plans video last year. So hopefully you can see that it was quite a long style jacket with a fur lined hood, and I did initially want to incorporate the fur into like a collar. But when I cut that up, it just wasn't really usable. So unfortunately, I couldn't use that aspect of it into this jacket. But what I have transformed it in to is the Seamwork Chip jacket. And that's sort of a biker style motto jacket that is got an asymmetrical zip. I think that's what you call it. And I am really pleased with how this has turned out. Now, when I first cut it all out last year, I wasn't really sure what size to go for because it is generally meant to be made in a stretch fabric for this particular pattern, and this isn't a stretch fabric, it's obviously woven and there's no stretch in it whatsoever, but I kind of just guessed what size would work well for me from using the finished garment measurements on the pattern itself, and it's worked out perfectly just by pure fluke, I think, and it fits really, really nicely. So the fabric that I've had to add is this corduroy fabric onto the collar section and also onto the inside lining because I didn't have enough of this quilted fabric to do that, and I couldn't use the lining fabric of the coat because there was no lining. It was one that was just not bias bound, just overlocked on the inside seams. So that's what I've done with this as well. I haven't lined it at all, and it's not a lined jacket anyway. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this has turned out, and the contrast of this navy blue with this navy blue goes fairly well, even though they're not exactly the same colour. I did have to buy obviously a zip as well, which haberdashery is allowed to be incorporated in your upcycled make, of course. So yeah, that's worked really well, but I don't think I've got it quite right because I don't think there's supposed to be that much of a gap between the edge of the collar. So I don't think my lining up was quite accurate, but it's absolutely fine. I won't be wearing this done up. I will always have it open like this. So basically, I'll see if I can insert on the screen actually. I'm sure I took a photo of when I cut all the pieces out, and I did share that on my plans videos, the way I kind of had to construct all the pattern pieces together. I had to add a few little sections on. So for instance, let's see at the top of this one here, you'll see that there's a seam line running across here where I had to add part of the fabric to incorporate it into the full pattern piece, and I think on this side somewhere as well, I think there's a triangle piece at the top somewhere where there's a seam line. You can't really see it properly now that it's all kind of been put together, because where I did have a big seam line was on the centre panel section of this, but luckily because this crosses over in a way, it's hidden that seam line, so that's luckily gone on the inside, so that was really good as well. So the jacket itself is a sort of cropped style length as well, and I quite like that. It works really well for high-waisted jeans and wearing with dresses and things, and it's really warm as well because it's a quilted fabric and it has like a fleece lined backing. I left the sleeves as is, but I did have to make them slightly narrower to enable me to fit it into the sleeve head section there, into the armhole. So that's all I had to do was just take it in, and I just sort of pinned the arm into the armhole and then worked out how much excess I had there to cut off, and then I just tapered it back into the sleeve itself, and it's worked really well. So I'm just going to pan you down so you can see the full jacket. So it's got a front panel section here, and then side panels, and then the back is obviously cut on the fold, and then you've got the sort of lapel collar section. So the collar has got the corduroy on both the top and the bottom, and I didn't interface that because I felt that it would have enough weight. You are supposed to put like those silver studs popper things on, but I felt like I didn't really need to add that on because it's not in a leather sort of style, so I didn't think it worked on this style of fabric. But I really like the cropped length of it. I've got it on with my skirt that I picked up from the garment swap at Guthrie & Garney for So Brum, and I really like how it works with high-waisted things. And then if I open it up, you'll be able to see that this is where I've got, I think the seam line is on this one somewhere. Yeah, just here. There's a seam line. I do need to go in and just repair that section here as it's just come away, so I need to just hand sew that back together. But yeah, you can't obviously see that seam line because this side covers over that side, and then I have hand stitched the sort of facing down onto the seam line so that that doesn't flap about, and then on the inside of the coat itself I have just overlocked the the internal seams. I haven't put any bias binding or anything on it because I didn't really need to add any bulk onto it, but I'm so pleased with how this has turned out, and it's really comfortable. It fits really nicely. It's really nice and warm as well for this time of year, and I just like this style, so I'm really pleased that this actually worked out in the end, because I did feel last year like I had been defeated a little bit, that I couldn't finish it, and I cut up a perfectly good jacket basically, and was worried that that would have gone to waste. So I'm really glad that I have been able to salvage it, and I have been wearing it so much. So yeah, I'm so pleased with it. I'll show you it done up fully as well, but I wouldn't necessarily wear it like this, because again, I think I've got the way I put the zip in, I don't think I've got that quite right. So this is a little higher, I think, than it should be. But I mean, you know, you could wear it like that and put a scarf around it if you wanted to be extra warm. But I won't be wearing it like that. So I don't mind that I've got the zip not quite in the right place there, because I think that should come up a little bit higher than what it currently is. I did use I think it was a sew along sort of style video that Karina from Lifting Pins and Needles had done on this jacket, and I have to say that was really helpful, because she shared how she was putting the zip in and which layers she was putting on top of each other and that kind of thing, and that was really worthwhile watching, basically, because she did it slightly different to the way the instructions tell you to do it. And yeah, that was really helpful for me, and I followed that instead of following the instructions, because it was a lot clearer, and she'd put the markings down as to where the zip was supposed to go, and I think I did omit that step, so that was my fault that I've not put it in the right place. But I'm fine with it. It's not something that's going to make me, you know, not wear it. I really do like it. Yeah, so I'm so pleased with this. I'm really pleased that I salvaged it, because I did feel a little bit worried that I'd cut up that perfectly good working jacket last year and it had been sat in my wardrobe for a whole year. And I'm glad that I didn't get rid of it, because I did really want to have another go at it, because I'm not a quitter and I don't like to be defeated. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this, and it's nice to be able to utilise the sleeves as they are, because it's got this internal sort of cuff section as well. And when I first finished the jacket, I did wonder if it was a little bit short actually, but I think that's because I was trying it on when I was wearing something else which wasn't high-waisted, and so I was thinking, oh, I'll add some ribbing on the bottom, but I'm glad I didn't now, and I really do like this. And like I said, I've been wearing it ever such a lot, and navy blue is my colour, you know, so I am really happy with it. So I hope you like it too. Let me know what you think. So I'm just going to get changed into my third upcycle then, so I'll be back in just a moment. So my next upcycle is the Nina Lee Southbank sweater dress changed into the Nina Lee Southbank sweater. So it was just quite a simple change to get me to start wearing this again, as I'd made it into the dress form when I first made this pattern a number of years ago, but I just made the standard length as the pattern comes as, and it just was a little bit too short and I just wasn't wearing it. And I think you could wear it like over jeggings or you know, running leggings, that type of thing, but I just wasn't comfortable with the length that it was at, so I decided to shorten it into the sweater length, and I'm really pleased with how that has turned out actually. Now this is again another colour that isn't really me, it's grey, it's a bit boring and monotone, but I can't remember, I think I got this fabric from Crafty So-and-So. It has got some flecks of colour in it, so it's not all grey, but I did add these vinyl stars onto it, which I got from Happy Fabric UK. And I just popped them on there just for a bit of contrast to the grey. And I also have changed up the collar, because I did have the Sew House 7 toaster sweater collar on it initially, which was actually way too high and it just was quite uncomfortable. I did roll it down on occasion, but I just felt it was too much. So I put the standard collar that comes with the Southbank sweater dress pattern, and I've popped that on, and that is much better. And also, if I still wanted to roll that down, I could still do that as well, you know, just so it's a little bit lower on me. But it's nice to have the option, I think, of being able to roll it down or have it up, but it's not, you know, it's not too high. But yeah, I've just shortened this literally into the sweater length. So I think I cut off the actual dress, and then I used the excess fabric to add a new hemband on, and that worked really well. So I literally didn't even have to recut anything. It was just the size that I needed it to be to add that on. So I just kind of took about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 inches off the length, maybe a little bit more, and just added that extra little bit of fabric onto the bottom to create a new hemband. And I feel that that sits at quite a nice length on me. It's not too short. It's quite nice that it still sort of covers my bum a little bit. Yeah, and I can just wear that with trousers, jeans, and I've got it on my running leggings at the moment just to basically show you what it looks like. I have graded this pattern out from the size 10 at the top to the size 12, so it did grade over my hips, but I feel that it fits quite nicely like that for the jumper as well, so I would still grade out because I do need that sort of extra over here. So yeah, I'm much happier with this jumper now, so I will wear it even though it is grey. But if I was to make it again, I would still do the same sizing, like I said, do the 10 graded out to the 12, and have it just slightly longer so it is over my hips a little bit, but just make it in a brighter fabric. But yeah, it's a really comfortable, warm jumper, so it will get warm. I probably will wear it more around the house, if I'm honest, on a day-to-day basis, for the school run and that kind of thing. It's not something I would dress up purposefully to go out on a weekend or anything like that, because it is quite grey. I do prefer having pops of colour on me, which I think suits my skin tone better. But I'm just glad that I've managed to save this again, because it just wasn't getting worn. So yeah, that's another really basic upcycle. Basically just changed the neck out and also the length of this and added the hemband on. So, you know, upcycles can just be a very easy, quick change like that, just to enable you to start wearing the garment again. That's my 3 upcycles then, so I am really pleased with them. And I do, you know, my jacket is my most favourite out of the 3, and now I know at least I will wear the dress and I will get to wear this jumper a lot more. And then I will possibly look at the stripy dress that I was thinking of shortening into a top for a future plan to do for an upcycle. So thank you very much for watching today. Let me know if you've taken part and what you ended up making. I have been going through all of the entries today, and I have been commenting on them as much as possible. I will try and keep up with that for the rest of the day as and when I can. But yeah, I will be going through everybody after today just to make sure that I've got everybody's entries in. So thank you very much for joining in if you did take part. So thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give me that all-important like. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. That would be lovely. And I shall see you again soon. Take care. Bye.